Hello everyone, and welcome to today's drop-in session. My name is Jenny, and I'll be facilitating today's event. And today I'm joined by Holly Law, the Change Release Manager. And just before we jump into things, I just want to go through some housekeeping. So we do ask that you keep your cameras and your microphones off. The event will be recorded, so there's an opportunity to refer back to this recording and the slides, and those will be uploaded to the Rec portal later this week. We'll also be using Slido. I've popped a link in the chat, and there's a QR code on the screen now. And there will be opportunities for a Q&A at the end. So if there are any questions that come to mind, then just pop them into Slido. So we'll just leave that there for a moment and let people scan the QR code. And just as people are entering their names into Slido, this is the agenda for today. And I will hand over to Holly.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So today's agenda, I'll be covering the February 2025 release. I'll go through the post-implementation support that's available. I want to touch on some upcoming events and working groups for you to be aware of. And as Jenny mentioned, there will be an opportunity for a Q&A at the end. Move on to the next slide. So the changes planned for the February release, we have 5 changes this time round. So we've got R0120. This is to search the GES API using the meter serial number. We've got R168, which is to clarify and strengthen CRS providers' requirements. R0208, which is adding the DIP rules to the cross-code steering group terms of reference. R0210, which is the evolution of the CRS performance charge, and we also have a housekeeping change planned as well. And all of those changes have been agreed for the February release. So the first change that we've got going into the release is R0120, and that's the ability to search the GES API using a meter serial number. So the reason this change has come about is because currently consumers without billing information who have either ambiguous addresses held in the gas inquiry services, or they don't have any billing information to hand, may not be able to switch supplier as it does not provide an MSN searchability function through the supply point switching API at the minute. The meter serial number may be the only obtainable information for the consumer, as it is displayed on the meter. So this will bring the ability to be able to search with MSN and also postcode outcode. They'll be introduced into the supply point switching address search API and supply point switching switch gas data API as additional input parameters, and that will be available to all existing users. So the things that you'll be able to search using is the MSN, that's mandatory, and the postcode outcode, which will be optional, and it's only valid when provided with the meter serial number. Just want to note on this, so the legal text changes to the GES supply point switching API technical specification haven't gone through the change process and will not be ready for the release. However, the redlined version of that is available on the portal on the change page for R0120, so feel free to go and have a look at it. Thank you. The next one is R0168, which is clarify and strengthen CRS providers' requirements. This change proposal was raised previously as an issue, and that is to address learnings from the P1 switching incident that happened back in July 2023, and also to implement recommendations from the RECO review report within the Retail Energy Code. So within the RECO review report, several of the recommendations were assigned to the REC Code Manager 5 of these recommendations have been agreed to be addressed through this change proposal, which is R0168, and are requirements for this particular CP. The 5 recommendations that have been considered as part of this CP are root cause communication, the switching operator's end consumer communication, switching operator switching incident impact assessment, an incident-wide switching impact assessment, and refresh and testing of the switching operator's incident-related policies, processes, and procedures. During the solution development and industry engagement for this issue, we agreed to a further 3 recommendations, which are going to be addressed through the CP, and they are the switching operator's responsibilities to ensure appropriate guidance and instruction to Ofgem and the code administrators, switching change advisory board roles and responsibilities, data captured as part of a switch or otherwise to help prioritise in the event of a major switching incident. When this issue was taken to the Change Issues Group, there was a desire for a solution that wasn't majorly codified. So the proposed solution for 168 is to introduce a new Category 3 guidance document, which you can see there is titled Major Switching Incident Switching Operator Best Practice Document. The impacted parties, ORAC parties, as a major switching incident does have the potential to impact all aspects of the retail energy market. And as I've already mentioned, there will be a new Category 3 document introduced, but there's also going to be references to that particular document within Schedule 26, the central switching service definition, and the switching operator service definition as well. Thank you. R0208, which is adding the DIC rules to the cross-code steering group terms of reference. This is a really simple change. So the data integration platform, which is also known as the DIP, will take on a key role within the electricity industry with the implementation of MHHS. So this code is to add those particular DIC rules to the cross-code steering group's terms of reference. The only parties impacted by this change will be the steering group itself, and the product being updated is the CCSG terms of reference. So yeah, really straightforward, simple change there. Thank you. And the next change we have is R0210, which is the evolution of the CRS performance charge. So the CRS provider is a party to the code, and its requirements and performance levels are also defined in the REC. Since April 2023, change proposal R0025, which was the service provider performance charges, was implemented, which meant that performance charges have applied to the CRS provider since that date. Those particular charges are based on performance against service level agreements, and they are set out within the central switching service definition, the CSS certificate authority service definition, and also the switching operator service definition. This change proposal will just look to make modifications to Schedule 6, which is performance assurance, and it's to allow differential weightings within that performance charge, and that's based on the relative criticality of the different metrics. So the more critical those metrics are, the greater performance charge will apply to it, and it will be weighted greater. Parties impacted by this change is the central registration service provider, and they may choose to modify their operations to better engage with that new framework. And the products impacted by this change are Schedule 6 performance assurance, and that is amended to capture the proposed changes to the weightings. Thank you. And then finally, this is just a housekeeping change, and this just looks to make typographical and formatting corrections that have been identified within the REC. We're making 4 changes within this housekeeping change, which is the GES Supply Point Inquiry API Technical Specification, and that's to update section 4.2, because the order of the parameters that are returning are incorrect. Schedule 23 registration services, it's just correcting the numbers within the table, and that's from 14.6.5 onwards. Schedule 14, so we did a review of all the footnotes probably about a year ago now. Some of the footnotes were moved to the incorrect place within a table, so it's just correcting that. And within the REC main body, we're removing the obligation on the GRDA and ERDA from clause 9.24. There's a clause in there that says they need to provide some reporting, which is no longer applicable. So we've removed that clause from that particular schedule. Thank you. We also wanted to give you an update on MHHS Data Transfer Network. So we are using the February 2025 release to include further additions to the DTC Access Database and DTN, and that's to support with MHHS testing. You can see there's examples there. And this builds on additions that were made for MHHS testing in May 2024. We will not make changes in February 2025 that would impact the use of the current DTN market messages. These changes will be made for go live within September 25, and a full list of the changes that are being made will be published shortly for transparency, and we will communicate that with you. Thank you. Post-implementation support. So as usual, if you do have any questions, you can raise a service desk inquiry, or you can email inquiries@recmanager.co.uk. You can contact your operational account manager. If your query is relating to any issue with the gas inquiry service, you can contact ExoServe directly, and you can use the switching service management system to get help and support there as well. As mentioned, I did want to touch on some upcoming REC events and working groups. On the 4th of March, we have the Performance Assurance webinar. On the 6th of March is the next REC Issues group. 13th of March, we are going to be holding a webinar specifically on R0155, which is the change of occupier CP, and the registration will open soon. We'll communicate that in the weekly bulletin. And on the 20th of March, there is an introduction to the REC webinar. If you want to sign up to any of those events or working groups, you can email us at inquiries@recmanager.co.uk. Thank you. I'm going to stop there for any questions.
Thank you very much, Holly. I don't think we have any questions at the minute, but if anybody wishes to ask anything, then they can do so now. No, I guess not. I guess we can close it there. Thank you everyone for joining today's drop-in session.